Shake, 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 Sinora, shake it all the time.
When you add a shake of Frank's Red Hot, you open a world of better. A world where wings bring out the flavor of game day any day. Where buffalo chicken dip takes any party up a notch. And where any slice of pizza instantly becomes the world's best slice of pizza. At least until the next slice. Bring every bite to life with the perfect blend of flavor and heat. Frank's Red Hot. I put that shit on everything.
Guys, what's going on? Welcome to the Bird Brain Podcast, where the goals to rise above it all, stay elevated, create that infinity up your you. I'm your host, Isaiah, and today is a big day. This is episode 200 of the Bird Brain Podcast. Episode 200, not even counting the Night Owl stuff, not even counting the bonus content, nothing. This is 200 episodes of the Bird Brain Podcast. I haven't kind of conceptualized that yet, but I just needed to say it out loud. So there's a lot to unpack in this. And hopefully it'll help you out, just in terms of like perspective, motivation, inspiration, what being you looks like when no one's watching, all that stuff. So we're going to talk about it. All right. I was about to say, take care of yourselves, take flight. Isaiah, you got to do the episode first. If you're driving, put on your seatbelt. If you're at home, put on your seatbelt. Put on your thinking caps. Put on your favorite comfortable hoodie if it's cold. Yeah. And come along for this little hug of an episode. I think this is going to be a good one. All right. Stay tuned. So, here we are, episode 200. Wow. Damn. That's just something to think about. They always say true success is happening when you're not watching, when you're not keeping an eye on everything. And also, last week was my 1-year anniversary of being a published author. So it's just been a bunch of like moments of recognition and milestones for myself to just kind of take in and process. And, it's not so much about numbers as it is about consistency. Is what I like to think about it, because the 200 episodes, man, that's 4 years. 4 years of this podcast. 4 years have gone by so fast, truth be told. And what a blessing, right? Because what is a podcast, right? What is a podcast, and what do you do? And, every time someone has asked me for advice about like starting a podcast, one thing I would say to them is like, make sure you are talking about something that matters, right? Make sure you know what your intentions are about this podcast, because it's going to show up. And if it matters enough to you, you'll keep showing up, right? And this has been my baby. The funny thing about it is, like, most of the things I do, no one knows about it until I do it, right? So the expectations, the support, the whatever isn't really there until I create it. And that's how life is a lot of times, guys. It's like, sometimes we are looking for people to support us before we have the thing that they can support. And even once we put the thing out there, not everybody's going to support you. But if that is the deterrent of what you do, what you accomplish, etc., you'll never get anything done. And truth be told, you'll never support yourself, right? And I'm not saying that it's not discouraging and not frustrating. I remember when I first started out, I was like, oh shit, my friends, my family haven't really been supporting the podcast. There was a couple, shout out, because they're still listening from the very beginning, that were like tuning into the podcast and supporting it and sharing it and everything like that. And it was a couple. And then you had people that are like, oh yeah, I don't really listen to podcasts, whatever the case may be. I'm not a podcast person. And then they tell you the podcast that they've been listening to. People are always their most honest when they think no one's watching, or sometimes people forget the narrative that they're creating, and that their story needs a follow up. So it's been a very interesting and delicate journey, but I will say it's like, no one's been pushing me to do these things. My book, no one knew about my book until I told people about it. And I like it that way, not because there's an element of mystery. It's just like, I get to do my thing and see what I'm about, see if I mean what I say. And I do. I really do. And there was this concept my client had brought up. We were in session, and they mentioned, does this make the boat go faster? There's this concept about what you do on any given day. Because it comes from like rowers. I forget from where, but I think a college rowing team. And it was like, will this make the boat go faster? Right? What am I doing to progress myself for tomorrow? Like, what am I doing in this moment that's going to take care of me tomorrow? What am I doing in this moment that's going to take care of me in the next moment? Like, all of these things matter. And something to ask yourself, something I've been asking myself is like, are the things that I'm doing, are they helping me progress, or does it feel like I'm going on a carousel? And, with the podcast, I think is an external example of my thoughts in that space, because many times I was like, oh man, maybe I should be doing something different on the podcast. There needs to be more. There needs to be this. And it's like, Isaiah, why can't it just be you? Right? Why can't it just be that? And you'll realize I don't necessarily have a lot of guests on here. Like, some I do because I'm like, yeah, I really want to have conversations with these people. But overall, it's just like this. And I think the reason I've kept it to that is a big part of it is my introversion. But I think another part of it is just like, this is a conversation between us. You know what I'm saying? I think some podcasts, there is just a need to talk, right? Versus it be a conversation. And, sometimes you have people overriding. And not to say this is every podcast, but like, the talking heads component sometimes I feel like can get lost in the sauce. And you just hear two people having a conversation out loud, right? Having a conversation with each other out loud. Versus it being something that you can feel a part of. So with this, it was like an opportunity to just like have a conversation with you guys, and whatever is important, whatever you deem resonates with you, take it with you. And it goes back to that concept, does this make the boat go faster? Is what I'm doing progress in my life? And to some degree it is. It's a slow progress, but consistency, right? Art imitates life, and I do my best to, like I say, keep going even on days I don't want to. Because there have been times where it's like, I didn't necessarily want to record. And I asked myself, Isaiah, why don't you want to record? Is it about the podcast, or is it about something else? Right? Or how you feeling personally starting to affect the other things around you? What's up? And that's important to do, right? Because sometimes we feel like, okay, maybe I should stop doing this. Or you have other people saying that, yeah, nobody's going to listen to this podcast. People don't want to hear it. People don't want to hear you talk about these things. That's a lie. Just because they didn't want to hear those things doesn't mean other people weren't listening, right? Don't let somebody stop you from doing something that they never started. Don't ever let somebody talk you out of your purpose, okay? Because they were too scared to live their own. Ever. And again, fortunately for me, it's like, sometimes the beautiful thing about not being supported is that you don't have people involved. Because when people get involved, they might try to override. They might try to steer your journey, right, to fit their narrative. Okay? Don't always be disappointed that people don't show up. That's the beautiful thing at times, truth be told. People don't show up, beautiful. I could work in silence. I could work in peace. I could do things how I want to do it. And maybe it won't be perfect, but I'll learn something. I'll recognize something about myself. Right? And on my terms, in my space. And I can learn from that. Okay? It's so, I think, just necessary to count your wins. Count your wins, count your trials. And not be so fixated on it. You know what I'm saying? Not be super fixated, but simply just being mindful. Just being mindful. Recognition. Because when you do that, you can honestly take a look back and be like, damn, this is what I've been doing. And, I've realized as I progress and like life has changed in a lot of ways, the podcast in some way, shape, or form has changed for me, right? The Night Owl was something that I was writing every week. And I love it. I love writing. It's my jam. It's my jammy jam. But I've also realized these days I have other things now. Not that the Night Owl has taken a back seat, but the way life has been, my creative process has definitely been compromised a little bit. So just recognizing and being willing to pivot sometimes does not mean that you failed. Does not mean you're failing or doing things wrong. It just means that there's a different perspective now. There's a different level of priorities. There's different organized choices. But will this make the boat go faster? Right? What am I doing today that's going to help me tomorrow? And the other day I journaled about something. And it was around the concept of like, why do you think you deserve less with the amount of work that you put out? Right? And work being in your relationships, work being your actual work, work being the work that you're doing yourself. Why do you think that you deserve less for giving more, for offering more, for being more? Why do you think you deserve less? And when you ask yourself that question, you shouldn't be able to find an answer. But it's worth asking, right? Because it'll give you some perspective in terms of like how your internal external view is set up of yourself. Why do I think that I have to work hard or be who I am just to receive less than what I am? Make it make sense. And then you think on it, you write it. Right? Why do I think that success and stress are mutually exclusive? What is that? Who gave me that narrative? Okay? Because truth be told, self-love, when it comes to self-love, is not void of self-doubt. Let's just call a spade a spade. If you were, brought up in an environment that was full of doubt and unsafety, you're not just gonna, out of nowhere, self-love, that's just it. I love myself now. No, you're not. It's not going to happen. That's not the reality. So if you're on your healing journey, get rid of that mindset so you can actually heal properly. You're going to have doubt, but it's like what you do in those doubtful moments. Do you give up? Do you quit, or do you keep going? There have been times I've taken a step back from things out of doubt, or I wouldn't even attempt certain things out of doubt. And then I just say, you know what, screw it. Stop overthinking it and just do it. Right? Oh, that rhymed, y'all. Screw it. Stop overthinking and just do it. Self-love isn't void of self-doubt. It's the willingness to address it, in action. A common theme for me is definitely journaling. I'm a big writer. And that's something that I didn't know for a while. And then I look at my notes in my phone. I look at how many journals I've acquired over the years. I look at the things that I write about. And it's cool, too, I didn't used to go back and read my journal prompts. But I have. And I look at what my situation was years ago, like what was I writing about, and has it changed? Sometimes it doesn't, especially with relationship stuff. Sometimes it does. You recognize a similar pattern. It's like, all right, cool. It's still the same shit. But what's different? What's changed? What's your perspective? Right? Looking back a couple of years ago, even in looking at now, there are less players, right? Less variables. I don't want to say less people I care about, but I care a little bit different, right? I try not to get caught up so much, and it still happens, right? Try not to get caught up in how people move. Instead, I'm more focused on, all right, Isaiah, what's next? This happened. Yep. It's frustrating. Absolutely. Did you deserve it? Nope. But what's next? Now what? Right? You don't ruminate. You use these things as a point of reference, right? Every time something happens that I don't favor, I ask myself, all right, cool, what can I do now? Not that it, again, is not my fault, but it is my responsibility. Full circle, y'all. What can I do now? How do I navigate this relationship with this person now? Is there a relationship with this person now? Sometimes, a lot of times there is not, because there are certain things that don't allow there to be a relationship. There is certain behavior that, for me personally, does not allow a continuation of a relationship. And everybody has their different threshold, right? So with that in mind, it's just cool to, again, ask yourself, will this help the boat go faster? What am I carrying? How am I carrying myself? And how is that keeping the boat going? And is the boat going straight, or is it just going in a circle? Am I like in stagnant water, right? And even rest is an action. Rest is an action. Okay. Giving up is a choice. Rest is action. Giving up is a choice. Right. And, I had certain goals to hit by this year. I didn't hit all of them, to be honest with you. This fucking year has been crazy, y'all. It's been a year. It's been a real year. But it's funny because, people said to me, I would not have known that you've gone through this or been through this. And it's not like I'm hiding it. It's not a facade. I'm one of those people. There is a level of, like, I'm for the most part, kind of an open person. Like, I'm approachable, whatever the case may be. But I still don't feel the need to divulge who I am to the world, because it's like, people didn't earn that. People don't earn your story, right? Not everybody is earning your story for you to sit there and take the time to tell them about it. And that's how I like to think about it. It's not about being private. Well, yeah, it is about being private. It's not about being like intentionally mysterious. It's just like, who's earned your story? And truth be told, a lot of times people ask questions because they want to decide what level of respect they're going to give you or what box they're going to put you in. You know? So it's like when you journey through your things, it's a reference point. Things can be frustrating, things can be discouraging, but it's like, you know what? If you don't show up for you, if you don't know what's important to you, then you start there. In 200 episodes in, I can honestly say this podcast in some way, shape, or form has definitely been a journal to some capacity because life has not stopped. Every day I wake up, there's kind of a new lesson, a new perspective, not just about other people, but definitely about myself. Definitely about myself. You are your longest relationship. So the information that's acquired in that space is so necessary to unpack and be mindful of. Because truthfully, it starts there and then it kind of filters out. You know what I'm saying? Will this make the boat go faster? Is what I'm doing, like for my diet. Will this make the boat go faster tomorrow? Like, how am I treating myself to make myself a machine tomorrow? Like efficient, right? Effective. Everything that I want the world to see me as. How am I seeing myself? Because sometimes the reason we sabotage ourselves is because in some way, shape, or form, we think that we don't deserve what we seek. And that's not fair. That is not fair. And I think if there's this episode today is any reminder for me, it's like, look, I'm going to always do what I say I'm going to do. For me first. Because this matters. And because this matters, people that it matters to, they're going to receive it. You guys listening, I appreciate it. You know, y'all are the reason now you guys, there's an element of responsibility now in this podcast because it's not just me talking to myself. It's like there are people I'm talking to now and people that receive this information. That's real. And what I appreciate is that you guys just don't come and take the information, you support as well. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I like that a lot. So that's my 2 cents. Ask yourself, will this make the boat go faster? What am I doing for myself? What do I think I deserve? What do I believe I deserve? What do I desire? Take inventory of all those things and just see what you come up with. But in the meantime, count your wins. Count your wins because it's an amazing feeling and it's something to really be mindful of. Like shit, 200 episodes? 200 episodes. Wow. Huh. That's a lot, guys. That is a lot. And, you know, sometimes you really got to remind yourself that you matter and you do it in action. Okay. So that's all I got. Shout out to my Patreon subscribers. Hey, I appreciate y'all so much for pouring back into your boy. If you've been listening to this podcast, you like what you hear, leave a review. That helps build the podcast into the algorithm. You can do it on Spotify, do it on Apple Podcasts. You can leave a rating, click the stars. If you enjoy what you're listening to, you want to tell the world what it is that you enjoy and why, do it. It's appreciated. What else? My book is still out in the streets. The coloring book is still out there. It's here to stay. And what else? Still mental health coaching available. If you want to work on your goals, you want to accomplish some things and tackle some things, hit me up. Let me know. And what else? I think that's it, guys. I really think that's it. But I do appreciate my listeners. I appreciate you guys supporting. It's just real. It's just real stuff. I also hit 130K on TikTok. All these things. And it all comes from just consistency. You know, not everything needs to be done with grit, but you can do some things with grace and see a good outcome. It's a slow race when you're doing things authentically, but it's your marathon, right? This life journey is a marathon, so take it as that. All right. With that being said, take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Take inventory. All right, and take flight.